Welcome to another edition of Community Matters. I'm Jim Cameron, your host and the program director here at Darien TV. And you, as a faithful viewer, knows that this is a program where we talk to folks in the community that make Darien and the area such a great place to live. And we're talking today about music. We are joined by Jonathan Yates, who is the music director and conductor, and Sandra Micklave, who is the executive director of the Norwalk Symphony. And I welcome you both to the program.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Absolutely.
Glad
So
to.
let's start with a little bit of history. Uh, Jonathan's bio is so extensive, I'm just going to put a link in the notes underneath the show so you can read that at your leisure. But let's talk about the history of the symphony first. Sandra, maybe you could fill us in on how long the orchestra has been performing, how it got started, and where it performs.
Right. So the Norwalk Symphony is in its 86th season. We played our first concert on May 9th, 1939. It was a unpaid community-based orchestra until I think the 1980s, maybe even a little bit later than that. A lot of musicians were from our local and regional community. It's one of the things I really love about who we are today is that, we have these professional musicians, but many of them still do live within a, circumference of 30 or 40 miles of where we are. And they're all, part of our organization. We have had 7 music directors. Jonathan, I think, is going into his 15th season next year. So we are very fortunate to have him as our leader in music. We currently are working to just plan our future. We become a different organization these days. We really have upped our game in terms of repertoire and music, and we're really looking forward to just what the future will bring for us.
Wonderful. I mean, there's a lot of history in America of town bands made up of amateur musicians, but
Mhm.
I think Ridgefield has a symphony. But is it surprising that a city the size of Norwalk, small as it is, can support a symphony orchestra as well too?
I don't think so. I mean, it is a bigger city, as you mentioned. One of the things about Connecticut is that this is actually something we proved as a fact last year. We are one of the smallest states in the country, and we have the most orchestras of any state per
Really?
capita in the country. So we support a lot of different musicians, and many of them play for multiple orchestras. Many, we do 5 main series concerts a year. So that's not a livelihood for anybody, but most of our musicians play with multiple orchestras. So they might play with Ridgefield or Bridgeport or Greenwich or, New Haven, wherever it may be.
Yeah, I sing in a church choir at St. Luke's in Darien,
Mhm.
and we see Wendy Kerner quite often.
For sure. Mhm.
You know, and she's a harpist, and I can't imagine what it must be like to schlep a harp around and do, session work and a, performance here and a performance there. So,
I've
um,
been with her when she's been schlepping that for a kids program we did a year ago, and she's a pro at it, but it's a lot of
yeah,
work.
yeah, it's not a small, it's not a small instrument. It's not like carrying around a piccolo or something like that. Um, Jonathan, so I think Sandra mentioned this is your 15th season. What was it that brought you to be the music director and conductor in Norwalk?
I had actually already been working in Norwalk just briefly as the music director of the Norwalk Youth Symphony, even though I live in the city. And At the time, the symphony was looking for a new music director, and I thought, God, this is perfect. I already work here, and I heard wonderful things about the orchestra, and I went through the audition process, and I was fortunate enough that they chose me.
Wonderful. Uh, Now, who are the musicians in the Norwalk Symphony? Where do they come from? Do they play as professionals or are they amateurs? And how does one join the Norwalk Symphony?
Yeah, I mean,
So
so go for it, Sandra. No, please go ahead.
I was going to say, all of our musicians are professional musicians. One of the things I like to point out in outreach programs when we're doing it is that, while the majority of them probably teach during the day or teach privately after school, I love the fact that we have musicians who are professionals who have a completely different daytime profession. So we have a dentist, and we have the Yale squash head coach, and someone who runs animal husbandry at the Maritime Aquarium. And so I love being able to tell others that you can be a professional musician as a passion and still have a different whole part of your life that's your profession as well.
So professional doesn't mean full time, and this is the only way I pay my way. But in this gig economy era, people I know voice performers in our choir and elsewhere who, they do something else in the day and then they come and they sing and they exercise their passion. But Jonathan, what's the audition process to become a member?
Oh, we do a group of auditions. If we have a specific instrument, somebody who's moved on, we audition for that instrument. But we also do something that I think a lot of instrument orchestras rather don't do, which is we do open auditions every year at Norwalk Concert Hall because we want to know, if you're a gifted clarinetist hiding in our community, we want to find out about you. We want you to be a member of our orchestra because again, the majority of our musicians come from nearby. And so, there's a lot of talent in Fairfield County. There really is. And so, yeah, we've been hosting open auditions every year. And you just don't know the incredible people you find in your community who can really play.
What's the time commitment if I was going to become a full-time, part-time member of the Norwalk Symphony? Given the number of concerts you do, what's kind of like the rehearsal cycle as well, too?
Yeah, so we do 5 or 6 subscription concerts every season, in addition to other events that I think Sandra can speak to as well. Because again, these people are pros, we just rehearse in the week of the concert. We don't do, we don't have a regular weekday event. We just put it together in the week of the event, the way that, the New York Philharmonic would do. And because these guys can play so great, we really put together some amazing events.
So they're not rehearsing like every Wednesday evening or something like that, just the
Nope.
week before
No,
the
this this
performance.
is this is a professional orchestra. Yeah, we have to handle it like any other professional orchestra would, which is, 2, 3, 4 rehearsals during the week of a concert, and we put together incredible repertoire. Debussy La Mer, Mahler symphonies, Strauss tone poems. This is a really remarkable orchestra. It's a jewel. It really is.
But you send them the music in advance, not just a
Yes.
list of the repertoire, but they get
Yes,
their
yes,
sheet
yes, yes.
music
No, 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 no.
and
They're
they
not
have to do
coming
their
in.
homework,
They're
right?
not coming in sight reading. No, 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 no. I mean, hopefully.
Good.
No, 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 no. They come in very well prepared. But again, it's the what's incredible is that with members of the community, you can put together, serious, exciting repertoire, be that classical rep or pops rep or Broadway rep or opera repertoire. And we try to incorporate, a wide variety of repertoire because we want to appeal to, as wide a variety of audience members as humanly possible. But these guys can just play. They really can.
You just anticipated my next question which is who determines the repertoire?
Um,
And some of your concerts are, as I'll cite in a moment, rather extensive and broad in their nature too.
yeah, and we're proud of that, actually. We're proud that, a classical orchestra cannot thrive right now when using that kind of old paradigm of just let's put together another overture, concerto, symphony concert. It's just people are looking for, things that are different, things that are exciting, things that are vital. And so yeah, we do a wide variety of kinds of events. Remind me of the initial question one more time,
Well,
please.
I was wondering, how do you put together the repertoire?
Oh, the programming process. So we have a
Yeah, exactly.
programming committee, drawn from members of the orchestra and members of the board. I am the head of the programming committee. Ultimately, I have to be the one who is really comfortable with what we're doing and that's the kind of programming that's going to get people to really come to concerts. But it's a collaborative process because again, our board members, our symphony members, they're all passionate about orchestra music and about live music. And so they all bring interesting ideas to the table. So yeah, we get together a committee and I hear everybody out and I kind of try to put it together in ways that I think will be exciting for our audiences. And we come up with some really great concerts.
So the last concert that I attended was the Music of the Sea concert. I'm sorry that's not showing terribly well, but the program went from Handel to Wagner to John Williams.
Yeah,
The theme was Music of the Sea, and the John Williams piece was conducted by you in
it
a
was.
uniform, wearing a shark outfit because it was the theme from Jaws.
It sure was.
And how did that come about? Was that like a
We love
bet
that
that
he's
you'd
not
made?
afraid to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
different.
again, you got to go for a broad appeal in these events. In that specific case, I mean, and Sandra can speak to this more too. Our collaborations with other institutions in the community are so important to us. They're just so critical. We think it's such an important way to reach out to different audiences, to highlight, the all of the different kind of cultural institutions in Fairfield County. There's so many remarkable different kinds of cultural, religious institutions here. And so this was our first kind of very large scale collaboration with the aquarium, the Maritime Aquarium, which is an incredible place. And I think the second largest tourist attraction in all of Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. And in designing a program that was going to be a collaboration with them, we wanted to reach out to as large of an audience as possible and to people who appreciated all kinds of music. So yeah, we did, some big classical works, Debussy La Mer, Wagner, Flying Dutchman Overture, but we also did jazz. We did Ellington's River Suite. We did, as you said, movie music, the John Williams Draw Suite. And in terms of the origin of that idea of me conducting in a shark's costume, again, it was just to try to get people excited about the program. So I had done a little social media hit with me in the shark's costume and said if this gets enough likes and enough, shares that I would do it. And so I committed. And I think Sandra can say, how many views did we get?
It was over 2,000,
Yeah.
so it was wonderful. So
Yeah. And we did opera as well. And then, excerpts from Offenbach's Tales of Hoffman, and then we did pop music. We did Disney, Under the Sea, and we did Bridge Over Troubled Water. And this is our approach: is that again, if it's live music and it's exciting, that's going to draw people to come, and we can't be a snob about it now.
But
There's so
I,
much.
I can't imagine Leonard Bernstein putting on any kind of a uniform when he was conducting.
I
Has the
think you
whole
would be
the seriousness of being a
surprised.
conductor
But
changed?
that's, but I don't, I mean, again, Bernstein was so hip to what was going on at the time. Shark costume, maybe not, but I mean, that's the man who wrote West Side Story, which is really like such a, hip musical, so hip that it took people by surprise at the time, so full of like modern ideas and Latin dance music. And yeah, he was like the king of finding ways to reach out. And his young people's concerts, he was always looking for ways to bring other people into the concert hall. And so shark costume, maybe not, but I think that he was really the king of that and kind of changed the paradigm really with an understanding of just that a conductor doesn't get to just sit in an ivory tower and conduct Beethoven all day because there's, you want to find whatever gets people to appreciate, first of all, what gets people into the hall and a chance to open their mind to different kinds of music. That's that's what you want to do.
We're joined today by Jonathan Yates and Sandra Micklave, who are joining us from the Norwalk Symphony. Um, and I guess that leads to the next question is, how do you get people in the hall? Uh, do you try to come up with as eclectic a repertoire at a particular concert as possible, saying, "Oh, I want to go hear the Ellington. I could stand the Handel and the John Williams. I don't know, but is it like there's something for everybody, and one thing is going to draw me in, and then I may be exposed to something else?"
That can be the approach sometimes. That was very much the approach for the Music of the Sea. Or sometimes, you know, there'll be a specific work that we just think is so compelling, or a specific collaboration that will be so compelling that you then, create an entire program around that work. So, later in the season, we're doing a big collaboration with Fairfield County Chorale. And we're doing Mendelssohn Elijah, and that's the entire program because we think that that's such a compelling work that doesn't get done enough. It's really, I think, the great Old Testament cantata of all, or oratorio rather, of all time. And it's fascinating because Mendelssohn was born Jewish, but converted to Christianity because that's what one did in 19th century Europe. And yet here he is actually like tackling an Old Testament subject. So something that is relevant to the way he was born, to the fact that his grandfather was the great Jewish philosopher Moses Mendelssohn. And so there again, because there's an opportunity for a collaboration that's meaningful, you make an entire program around that collaboration. Yeah, it really varies. Or we do a Broadway show every year, because we think that that's really appealing, and that's unique to us too. I do not think that there are a lot of other orchestras in Connecticut that commit to doing a concert staging of a Broadway show every season, and we do that. We this season it's Guys and Dolls, which we're really excited about.
Do you get pushback from some of your more dedicated ticket subscribers or musical snobs who go, you don't play John Williams in a concert with Handel and Offenbach?
I mean, Sandra can tell me if I'm wrong, but no, people love it. And
I
furthermore,
always
yeah, go ahead,
I
Sandra.
always stand at the exit. I'm usually greeting people when they come in and then when they leave. When they leave, I'm always amazed at the same people that have left the last concert are saying to me, "This is the best concert ever." And I'm like, "But you said that the last time, you know?" So I think once you do get people into something that appeals to them, and because we do a lot of different kinds of things that appeal to different people, they do come back to try to see what else we're engaged in. I want to go back to your question about how we attract people too, but we do a lot of outreach in the community through small ensemble work and stuff. We've worked with a lot of different organizations. Darien Men's Association is one. We do an evening performance with them in the spring every year for husbands and spouses. But we also do things that like the Sono Collection or the Maritime Aquarium, Stepping Stones Museum for Children, there's a gazebo on the town green in Norwalk, and we've done like a September Labor Day concert there for the last couple of years. And we do also get contracted out to do other bigger performances. So this coming December is our 8th season as the live orchestra for the New England Academy of Dance in New Canaan and their performance of the Nutcracker. Next summer will be our 5th annual Pops in the Park concert, which is over in Waveney Park in New Canaan. And we're contracted out by other organizations to do that. So that just really helps us broaden a reach that we don't have maybe to start with. But again, every time we chip away at it and more people join the mailing list or, spread the word, it really, really helps us to bring, more people into the hall for the what we call our main series concert, those 5 concerts that John talked about.
So if I was having a big party at the country club here in Darien, and I needed a string quartet, I could call you and you would put
You
that
got it.
together for me?
You got it. Absolutely. I mean, and we've done things for golf outings. We've done, all different kinds of things. And so, it's very easy. I always tell people, if you can give me a date and a time and what you're looking for, I can find the right musicians for you.
Jonathan, here's the $64 question, which you were hinting at, which is, How do you get young people involved in classical music? I'm a regular goer to your concerts, and I look around in the auditorium and I see maybe 10 people under the age of, 20. Um, and, the average age is older than me. Are you worried about your audience aging out and nobody being left who likes classical music?
I mean, no, I don't worry too much. I mean, there's of course look, there is a demographic challenge for all orchestras, to be clear. I mean, because of the nature of the way people have been raised, it's true that classical music audiences trend older, but that's why we do what we do, which is to, find programming that reaches out to younger people. I mean, and it varies a lot by the concert that we by which concert you're at, because we do a lot of concerts that are very specifically geared to a younger audience. We do a music for all ages event every year. This year it's focusing on Berlioz' Symphonie Fantastique because it's such a fascinating narrative work. It's basically about the composer envisioning himself on an acid trip, or an opium trip rather. And there's so many interesting narrative elements going on. And I talk to the audience, and we bring in narrators dressed as composers, and it's an extremely important part of our mission to bring in a younger audience. And Sandra can speak to this more as well, but our Holiday Pops concert, which has, all the holiday favorites you can possibly imagine, it being popular songs like Let It Snow or Christmas Song, as well as, some light classical favorites as well, and the Hallelujah Chorus, and dancers from Nutcracker, and a big sing-along in Santa Claus. That always has a lot of families. And then, we have a really extensive education program, which I think actually Sandra would probably be best to speak on as well.
Sure. And so going back to our mission, it rests on two pillars, and one is live performances and the other is music education. And so we have a number of different music education programs that we present. But one of the things I always like to talk about, no matter which program we're working with the students that we're working with, is a couple of years ago, the New York Times did an article about how people don't even realize they're listening to orchestral music. And yet, if you close your eyes during a TV commercial or a video game that you're playing, it's amazing that this is really what you're listening to. And so we do a lot of outreach into this public school systems, and we have a program called Not Just for Kids that we do 24 times during 6 weekends during the year before our concerts. And it's introducing kids to the instrument groups and other themes that go along with it. But I always tell them, like, as these musicians are playing, I want you to close your eyes and think about, what do you see and tell me, what does it make you think about? And also, how does it make you feel inside? Because that's the live music piece of it, right? Like, you don't get that vibration feeling inside your body when you're sitting watching television. Well, maybe, but not, it's not like being in a big, huge concert hall and just taking that all in through osmosis almost. And so, I think the education piece is really, really important. And when we do these outreach programs, and very briefly, we have the Not Just for Kids program. We have a masterclass program that we work with 2 different organizations in underserved communities. We have our concerto competition every year that we do. And when we're working with all these, I'm always telling the kids, it creates access for them. They're able to come to the concerts for free. Bring your families. We welcome you to come and be part of this, because it is important to share that, to get that next group of people in the door. But especially with the masterclass kids, a lot of these kids, create relationships with our musicians as mentoring relationships. And then I've had times where they've gone on to actually study with them as they've gotten older. And so, it's really about changing, just broadening that reach of where we bring music. And there are so many kids out there that are into music. And so it's just keeping them on a path where, again, going back to what I said in the beginning, you don't have to do this for your full-time job. If you want to be a rocket scientist, go be a rocket scientist. But hey, if you want to play in the orchestra, the same thing. The hospital in Norwalk has a group called the DNRs, and it's doctors that play instruments, and they just did this huge concert. And so, again, it's all kind
You
of
should mention
relative,
what
right?
DNR stands for.
Well, yeah, okay. But the music will keep you going. Let me just put it that way. But that's not their primary profession, but yet they're amazing musicians. And so I keep telling these kids that you can do a lot of different things. You don't have to pigeonhole into one thing, and music can be one of those things.
Yeah, Jonathan Yates and Sandra Micklave are joining us from the Norwalk Symphony. Jonathan, I mean, I don't care how great your home stereo system is. There is nothing like sitting in Norwalk City Hall and listening to your orchestra perform. I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, I think that the acoustics are great and the enhancements that you've done to the baffles up on the stage have made it even better. It's actually a little loud, so I have to sit farther back. I keep reminding myself the ones that are farther back are probably going to be better. But from your point of view as conductor, are the acoustics in there good?
Gorgeous. They are gorgeous acoustics. We are really, really fortunate. It's also, you can get enough people in to feel like a real crowd. It's the acoustics are flawless. Honestly, it's one of, if not the best hall in Connecticut for its acoustics. We are very, very lucky. And because it's part of Norwalk City Hall, people don't know it's hiding, right in there. It's just it's really a little miracle. Yeah,
All right.
we love it. It's my home away from home. And so I love that I get to spend as much time there as I do.
Okay, I got tough questions for you now.
Uh-oh.
Now that we've done all the nice, easy ones, how do you set ticket prices? I mean, you want to fill the hall, you want to attract people that are coming in there, but adult ticket prices start at like $60. And for some people, that's a bit of a spend. Student prices are lower, but how do you make that sweet spot between a half full house with $60 tickets or a full house, $35 tickets? Sandra, maybe,
Yeah, well,
you're the money person in all this.
go ahead.
Yeah, so actually 60 is our highest price ticket. So the tickets are 10 for students, and then they're 25, 40, or 60. We
Depending
recently
on where you sit, right?
Right. We recently redesigned where you sit to include more less costly tickets in the mix, to help, again, create access. We always are running some kind of special. We'll be doing our holiday 20 where you can save 20% coming up. When we sell subscriptions in the beginning of the season, really starting before the season starts, there's usually a discount. There is a tipping point, and we're always conscious of making sure that people that want to come can come. And so a lot of times people call and we're just like, yep, we'll be happy to work with you on finding the right price that works for you. Because we do want people to come there. And I would love to physically sell out the hall, but I know that there are many times when we're, because we do provide tickets to student groups and to others, it's not always going to be a paid seat, the person sitting next to you, but there's a person there. And that to me is the more important piece of it. But it is a challenge. Ticket sales are about 30% of our revenue, and declining, which is the hard thing. Now, pre-COVID, we had, more subscribers. It's come back some, but not to the level that it had been. And so we find that if a week and a half before a concert, I have 400 tickets sold, I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to almost double that in the last week, but nobody buys them in advance anymore. And so that's very challenging business model to work on too, because hope is not a plan, right? So I always hope they're going to call me that week before the concert, but so far, for the most part, knock on wood, they pretty much have. But it's challenging going 2 weeks out from a concert to have the hall less than half full, and wonder where you're going to be by the time the night comes. So it's always something that we're just trying to find the best ways to accommodate as many people as we can.
And Jonathan, I neglected to ask you, are the musicians paid?
Oh yeah, it's a professional orchestra. Yep.
Not union scale, but
no, we're not a union. We're not a union band, but but they are. It is an entirely paid orchestra.
So Sandra's got it with only 30% with tickets covering that nut. Sandra's got to go out and raise more money, more donations, more philanthropic hands reached out. Sandra, what's that like? I mean, how do you find people to support classical music in Norwalk?
We've put a sort of renewed focus on that the last couple of years. The Board of Governors has been really helpful in helping us make connections, and we're chipping away at corporations sort of across the board with orchestras. Corporate support has dwindled, and it's something that we really do need to focus on going forward. We're fortunate to have funding from the state of Connecticut, which has really helped us the last couple of years. And we also do have some foundations that are very philanthropic with us, as well as some of our board members who, again, are so passionate and able to promote what we're doing. But it's an everyday, how are we going to raise more money to do what we want to do? Because the programs that we're doing are more and more elaborate and beautiful, and the musicians, the quality of the orchestra and the musicians has just skyrocketed over the last couple of years. So we want to be able to do those things, but you have to sort of put it on paper with how much you can afford to pay them, and how many concerts you can do a year too. So it's always an everyday look into where can we find the next group of people that want to work with us.
And Jonathan, as a conductor, you have to keep a head count. How many musicians were on the stage for your October performance? I think it was a new record, was it not?
I don't know if it was a new record, but Sandra would actually remember
It
the
was
exact.
close to 80.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
it was close to 80.
that was
I
80.
mean, we had 10 violins, 10 cello, 8 cellos. I mean, three
it was a big.
basses, 2 harps. The harps are amazing when you have more than one harp on a stage. I'm always impressed, but
Yeah,
it was huge.
that was a
And Sandra, I know that in this era, when you're increasingly relying on philanthropy and donations, there's a lot of other hands that are outstretched now. Now people are not getting enough food. They're not getting the support from the state in other areas that they might have in the past. God forbid this happens, but what happens if you can't raise enough money to cover Jonathan's costs in hiring all these musicians? Do you reduce the size of the orchestra? Do you reduce the number of performances? What happens?
See all of the above. I mean, you kind of have to look at what you're planning as far as repertoire and how many musicians you need on the stage. I know a lot of Jonathan's planning for a concert goes into the fact that, if we're going to do one piece that needs 80 people, we better be doing a whole bunch of pieces that need 80 people because we're paying them. Versus, if we do a program that needs 35 or 40, the corresponding repertoire needs to sort of need that same number of people in some ways, so that you can keep costs on that. What we try to do is look at our budget for the upcoming season, which we're in that process right now, and our season is really our fiscal year is July 1st, so the season for next year begins in October, but we're already looking at the plans for what that's going to look like, and knowing where we stand now, some of the success that we've had with fundraising, some of the challenges that we've had. And we really kind of look at that as Jonathan and the programming committee are working towards saying, we'd love to play this. And I'm like, yes, then how we need to figure out how we're going to pay for it. But it's definitely a give and a take. I will say too, though, that all the education programs that we do are 100% grant funded. So we're very fortunate to be able to present those programs as often as we can, with some pretty steadfast funders over the years, which is great.
Well, as we wrap up this program, I'm going to ask our viewers to stay tuned. Literally, there'll be a slide in a moment with all the contact information, the address. You can pull out your checkbook while you were totally inspired and in raptures from our conversation. You haven't even heard the music, and support this very worthwhile cause. So, Jonathan Yates, music director and conductor, Sandra Micklave, executive director from the Norwalk Symphony. I thank both of you, not only for being on the program, but also for your service to enriching the artistic lives of people here in Lower Fairfield County.
Thank you so much, Jim, for inviting us. It was really wonderful to be able to speak with you and to hopefully meet your audience.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I thank you, our faithful viewers, for watching another edition of Community Matters.